Hello everyone, another day, another me. As usual on my way to work. The weather is actually a bit gloomy today and it's a bit raining. And as always, of course, I have three objectives. Don't get caught by the police, get to work in one piece, and talk about something that might be of interest to whoever is listening. It's been a few days since I have been talking a lot about learning languages and my experience with languages, and it's feeling a bit stale. So today I will talk about something completely different. So a few days ago, I think last weekends, I was actually at home and I saw a new movie. And it's a Japanese horror movie called Sayuri. It's a strange little movie, you know. So I read the synopsis. It's basically about some murder house and some family, got moved in, and they got effed by the ghost, the usual stories. And I was very interested because I am an avid fan of horror movies, and I grew up with these Japanese horror movies like The Ring, or in Japanese it'll be Ringu, Ju-on, or The Grudge, One Missed Calls, and many others. I grew up with these movies, so I really enjoy this kind of like creepy, gloomy, impending doom kind of feeling when it comes to horror movies. But something I noticed recently, I would say recent past like 10 or so years, is that Japanese horror movie has been quite a letdown. I think the most impressive one I watched in my recent memory is I think it was the Ju-on Origin or something. I think it was a series on Netflix. But then again, it's just, how to call it, a story that is built upon an already established, I would say, like masterpiece of a horror. The original Ju-on was like crazy. It gave me nightmares. So yeah, at first I thought, maybe it's just me getting old, and just my nostalgia speaking when, kind of it makes you feel like the old movies you watch are just better than the new movies these days. So I actually went back and rewatched the first Ringu and also the first One Missed Call. And then I realized that I was not wrong. Those movies were just objectively better, like not just better movies but also better horror movies. And that brings the question to me, what happened to J horror? Like how far the mighty have fallen. It's not, like, I mean, I have no answer, but recently, I think last year, I actually watched one kind of pretty big horror film, like Japanese horror film, in the theater, at the cinema, called Henna Ie, which means like a strange house or the strange house. And that movie was trash, like very convoluted, doesn't make much sense, all these things. Just not a very enjoyable watch. Then a few months ago, there was another one which was very well hyped. I think it's called like King Kichi Ho something. Yeah, it's basically about some strange occurrence and strange cases in Kinki area, which is the kind of like the Kansai area. And the premise of the story is actually quite simple. You follow this journalist whose, I think, co-worker disappeared or something like that, and it's actually like an adaptation of this like kind of like creepypasta, like web story, like in Japanese forum, that they serialized later. And I again like I'm not a movie maker, or I'm not movie making expert, but the story, the formula of having a journalist or detectives, getting themselves into some crazy stuff, trying to figure out what's some kind of weird shit that is happening. I think that's a tried and tested formula. You can't really go that wrong with that. Even with that, the movie just ended up being so mediocre that I rather the movie be very bad. At least that'll be interesting. The worst insult I can give to a movie is that it's boring and bland, and that movie is that kind of like feels. Not to mention, the movie is trying to be smarter than it actually is. So in general, I just felt that I haven't watched a good Japanese horror movie. No, sorry, a great Japanese horror movie in a very long time. Over the year, there were a couple of them that are quite decent. For example, there are these movies that were made by this one director. I can't remember his names, but they are like based on different villages. They are loosely like connected, very very loosely connected in a sense. But I think one of them is called Inunaki Village, and another is like Cow Throat Village or something like that. Yeah, they have all the movies have some kind of village or villages in it. So yeah, and those are not bad. Like they are not like they're nothing great, but at least the atmosphere and the sense of dread is there. Back to the movie Sayuri, the one that I was watching just last weekend. The first half of the movie was actually quite decent. The same the same trope. Some family move into this house that had some some murder case before, and ghosts fuck with them. Yeah, it's fine, it's nice, it's interesting, but it's the same stuff. However, the second half of the movie, they just completely shift the tone, 360 degree, and then they try to turn the movie into some kind of like comedy drama with some ghosts in it kind of thing. It is almost like they're trying to force some kind of hopeful ending to the movies, and I would say, yeah, it was a miss. So yeah, that's one of the thing that I've been noticing with a lot of J horror. But on the other hand, if you look at like country like Thailand, in Thailand they haven't, the golden era of Thai horror film is long gone. They used to make a lot of them back in the day. Very good one, like the legendary twins, the Shudder, and yeah, many others. They were great. And I think in the past like 10-15 years they stopped making horror films. But every once in a while, Thailand still do produce some horror films. But the things that they are really good. For example, like The Maid, I watched recently, Death Whisperer 1 and 2. These are really, good movies. Except Siam. Siam is like that one is dog shit. Just do not waste your time with that. So yeah, like Japan, although Thailand has kind of gone a bit slower on their horror movies production, they still can dish out some good stuff. But recently, I think Korean horror films, one of the favorite, like my favorite of all time, called The Wailing. And but again, Korean horror films, yeah, they're also hit and miss too. So I say Indonesian recently, yeah, Indonesian horror film. Like I think they're having a boom in Indonesia. they're making lots of horror films, and most of them are quite enjoyable. But I think what I noticed is that the Indonesian horror films tend to be quite grounded to reality. It's usually a village, something happened, sometimes superstition, sometimes a bit religious horror. It's very simple. Usually the stories do not try to be bigger than they actually are. So at the very least, I feel like Indonesian horror right now is probably the best, horror movie scene. I would say at the moment. You never know; these things changes all the time. So one of the this is one of those thoughts that I was having after watching that movie, and I just felt that what happened to J horror? It used to be that when you say Japanese horror, people just freak out. People just find it scary. People will always say, "Oh, Japanese horror is crazy scary." But these days, it's kind of like sad to see that. So but I understand that maybe this is just not so interesting or not so big for most people. But for me, like, I love horror movies. I love watching them. I grew up with them, and to see the state of the deteriorating state of Japanese horror movies kind of makes me sad. So I just want to throw that out a bit on my way to work today. Oh, also, if you notice, I'm a bit decked up today because I have to attend an event as a part of work. So anyway, if any of you are fans of horror movies and have watched a lot of J horrors, let me know what you think. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. All right, thank you for joining me as usual, and I guess I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow. Okay, go away. Bye.